of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Lake Barrington. It is Tuesday, September 5th, 2023, and it is 7:06 p.m. I'll begin with asking the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Burke?
Here.
Trustee Hayes?
Present.
Trustee Perkins?
Here.
Trustee Schaller?
Here.
Trustee Schalmoser?
Here.
Trustee Van Ryn? Here. President Richardson?
Here. We all are together. It's nice to have the family all back together. Would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, agenda item 4 this evening is approval of the minutes from our meetings last month. We had 2. Minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting on August 10, 2023, and minutes of the Special Board of Trustees meeting on August 17. Are there questions, edits, or recommended changes for the clerk? There being none, then Chair would like a motion to approve in block agenda item 4A, minutes of the Board of Trustees from August 10 and minutes of the Special Board of Trustees from August 17th. May I have that motion, please? Thank you, John. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Trustee Perkins? Clerk will please call the roll.
Trustee Schaller?
Yes.
Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Trustee Hayes?
Yes.
Trustee Schalmoser?
Yes.
Trustee Van Ryn? Yes. President Richardson?
Yes. Chair would like unanimous consent that the record remain open for a period of 10 calendar days for any necessary technical and conforming amendments. Without objection, so ordered. Agenda item 5 this evening is President's Remarks. We have visitors, and I love when we have visitors. We'll begin with our friends from Advocate Good Shepherd. Chloe, would you come forward, please? And I gave them a peek in the box as to what you were going to visit with us on, and there's a button in the middle there that should turn red when you turn it on.
And he has a PowerPoint presentation.
I have some copies for people to pass on.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And please introduce yourself and your colleagues.
Yes, absolutely. Good evening, everyone. First off, thank you so much for allowing us to be here today. My name is Chloe Goodman. I'm the manager of Smart Farm in the Health Management Center at Advocate Good Shepherd Hospital. I'm here with Roberto, our director of design and construction, Gary, our construction project manager, Don Matthews, our civil engineer, and then Ted, who's helping me on the slides, our architect. And so really here today, our goal is to just share at a high level our Smart Farm expansion plan. Do you mind hitting the next slide there? Hit it once more. Apologies for the technical difficulties.
I got it. Okay.
Now, I'm sure many of you have heard of Smart Farm before, but just to table set, Smart Farm was first created back in 2008 by a local community member. By 2012, the farm actually moved on to Good Shepherd land. I know you all are very familiar with the hospital. We sit on about 208 acres of land, 60 of which have been carved out for farming, and 30 of that 60 have been dedicated to Smart Farm entirely. Now, in 2022, the farm became part of Good Shepherd entirely, which got leadership to think, what do we want to do with this land moving forward? The community really established a great foundation for the land, and engaging with community members, creating a space where people can come, understand the importance of healthy eating, how to grow fresh produce, and then eat it as well. And so our leaders really saw it as an opportunity to take our current 2-acre operation and expand it to about 10 to 15 acres in the next 3 to 5 years, with the intent of continuing to support our food pantries, as well as our farm and hospital stands that we have every other Thursday and Friday, and then look at both external and internal partners, thinking about how we can further collaborate to provide fresh produce, as we know that that is a major driver in really allowing us to live well. Next slide, please. So really our intent here today is to discuss at a high level what we plan to do when it comes to this expansion. So as I mentioned, that 30 acres of land we have is sitting right above at the right corner of the documentation that I have there in front of you. To the left is our current location of Smart Farm. We plan to move the actual farming to the top right, and then right to the bottom is the infrastructure that we plan to build to help support the operations. Now, the reason we're here today is because that infrastructure is about 1.5 acres of land split up by both Lake County and Lake Barrington. Next slide, please. Now, on your next page, you'll see, we're just diving in, I apologize, the color's not great there, but if you refer to your slide deck, you'll see it's a little bit clearer of a photo, just kind of showcasing the two different zoning ordinances. So you have Lake Barrington at R1 zoning with about 0.91 of the acres encompassing them, and then Lake County with an NCSR zoning at about 0.61 acres. Now, not to move too quickly, but if you go to that next slide, you'll get to kind of the meat and potatoes of this presentation here, as it highlights the different structures. Ted, you want to click to the next one? Perfect. As it highlights the different structures that would inhabit that space. So there's 5 total structures. One wash pack barn, which I have sit out as it sounds. It will wash, package, and store the produce. We have the dimensions listed there as well. That will be in the Lake Barrington location. The red dotted line, anything above that is Lake Barrington, anything below it is Lake County, just for situational awareness. Then right below it, there are 3 total hoop houses, 2 of which will be in Lake Barrington. One will be used to propagate seedlings. That's where it will grow into this kind of plastic container. Once it's a certain height, it will be put into the ground. And then 2 will be used actually to grow directly into the ground, 2 hoop houses. All the same size, utilizing similar needs in terms of the structures, but 2 different kind of uses for the 3 structures. And then lastly, we'll have 1 hoop house in Lake County and 1 pole barn in Lake County. Those 2, the pole barn will be utilized to store the equipment for the farm. Think tractors, all those different implements, tilling implements, et cetera, to help support the farm. And we really want to focus here on kind of a phased approach. As you can see in the 3 boxes, I have an estimated activation for each. We're using a lot of our philanthropic support as well as grant dollars, and then the hospital has some skin in the game as well to carry out this work. So we're going to be phasing it out, which is why you'll see different activation timelines for each specific building. Now, I know I flew through this information, you can go to the next slide, but really, as I think about kind of Lake Barrington, as well as, for me, I'm not from here, getting to know the community, I was really inspired by your brand statement, an oasis of gracious countryside living. And as I think about the Smart Farm expansion plan, I think it aligns nicely. We're here on gracious land, utilizing it in a way that not only allows us to joyfully continue to live on the countryside, but also using it in a way to support our patients and community members to ensure they have access to this fresh produce to ultimately live well. So with that, thank you all for your time and attendance, and I'll open up the floor for questions.
Thank you, Chloe, and as always, it's a pleasure to work with the team at Good Shepherd. We have a practice, and just to level set, and I always do this for the record, thank you, Allie, that concept presentations like this are always invited. They are not required. Everybody who has a business proposal to present to the village that requires zoning have a right to go when they wish to the Plan Commission. The way the process works is the Plan Commission will develop a record of decision and make their final decision after a series of on-the-record public hearings. And then they send that recommendation, developed through the public hearings, summarized in the record of decision, to us for up or down. And that's where they work with petitioners like Good Shepherd on what the details would be, so that there's alignment between our comprehensive plan and our brand statement. And thank you for noticing that brand statement. I love my children that brand statement about an equal measure. And we will then affirm or deny their recommendation. So tonight's purpose is simply for you to do what you've done, which is to present the concept, and then we let the trustees kind of discuss and ask questions. And this has no bearing on what the Plan Commission may or may not do with you, but it is intended to give you the benefit of what community representatives think by way of reaction, so that as you go through the Plan Commission process, you are informed by this input, but not held captive by it. Fair enough? And I would invite your colleagues to come up to the microphone if they'd like to as well for this conversation. I'll begin by yielding to Trustee Schaller for questions.
Thank you, President Richardson. Well, I'm aware of the Smart Farm. I remember when they first came to the village many years ago and wanted to actually start at the Fryer Farm, but the facilities just couldn't do what they were looking for. So very happy that it ended up being what it is, and having bought little seeds and plants from you guys for the past couple of years and growing tomatoes, I know that you do good work. I was surprised and read just recently that you were having a farmer's market. And that is every other Thursday and Friday?
So I can clarify that. We have a hospital stand, which is actually in Good Shepherd's main lobby. That's every other Thursday. And then the farm stand is every Friday at our current location, which is right on the corner of Kelsey and 22.
Right.
And that's every Friday.
That's every Friday?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. No, I think you guys do a great job. So the last pole building would be the closest to Highway 22?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, pretty close to where you were selling the plants last year, this year?
Close, similar to it, yeah. When we had the plant sale, that was right by kind of that first barn that you see when you're
Right,
coming
yeah.
in. Yeah, it's pretty close to there.
And will not affect any, right now, these plans don't include any effect on the yard in the barn or the buildings that the hospital
No.
has. Be beyond that. Yeah, no, I think you guys do a great job, and seeds worked out pretty good.
Good, I'm glad you're
The
here.
tomatoes are too small, though, I'm gonna get them bigger.
Stop by the farm stand, we can get you some bigger ones.
Thank you.
Trustee Perkins.
Thank you. This is a nice presentation. I'm just curious, so you will continue to have your current area, and then you're just adding this area, or?
So, yeah, I can clarify on that. So we'd like to continue to use the land at least in the first year, so we're going to expand incrementally for the 3 to 5 year expansion plan. We don't want to jump to 30 acres, as we know it's going to take some time to work up to that. Labor, all of that stuff is going to be required. So we still want to utilize the current acreage as well to support while we're growing the future, or the expansion portion of the land as well. So we'll use that in the first few years and then fully transition over to the larger portion of the land.
Okay, then what happens to that area?
Yeah, so that's in discussion right now in terms of thinking about how we could utilize it. We also have integrative medicine within the hospital, thinking about if there's a way that we can incorporate some of the growing practices that they're already using on that land. So that's still up for discussion on in the future where we would take that land.
Great. Okay, thanks. That's all.
Thank you. Trustee Hayes.
Good luck to you on this as you go through this process. It looks like you're trying to create a blue zone here in Barrington. I'm familiar with the longevity of the centurions, right? One of the tenets is good, healthy eating, so I'm supportive of that portion, so good luck to you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Trustee Schallmoser.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to seeing how that develops. What % increase would you envision moving to the big farm to yield?
Yeah, so at current operation, we yield about close to 17,000 pounds of produce, and that's on 2 acres. So if we were able to expand to about 10 to 15 acres, well over 100,000 pounds of produce is what we anticipate. I have specific numbers, I just didn't bring them with me tonight. But yeah, so that will equate, the current 2-acre operation, it equates to about 14,500 plus meals, give or take. When I hear pounds, it kind of goes right over my head, so meals is a little bit more tangible for me. And so we anticipate close to that as well, or close to that 100,000 meals with the expansion.
Oh, wonderful. Given the extra yield, would you ever consider donating a bigger percentage to food pantries and to disadvantaged people in the area?
Yes, so we currently donate to 4 food pantries, 2 in Barrington and 2 in Carpentersville. As we continue to expand, we want to open up that opportunity as well as think about how we can incorporate it more into the hospital. So as I mentioned, I'm over the Health Management Center, which is an outpatient chronic disease clinic within the hospital. So working with patients with diabetes, various different chronic diseases, how can we utilize that fresh produce to support them as well, as we know that food is helpful in managing those diseases.
Wonderful. It's great you're thinking of that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Trustee Van Ryn.
Thank you, President Richardson. Thank you so much for being here, and your succinct presentation was awesome. One question I had is, as part of the expansion of the Smart Farm, do you see an opportunity for jobs to be created as well?
Yeah, so that's something we've been in discussion as well. We know that when we continue to expand, it will require labor. Some of the areas we've been preliminarily looking at is thinking about internships with local local colleges in the area, especially from an agricultural perspective. Our farmer is very good at what he does. How can he help teach the next generation of potential farmers? And then as well as potential job opportunities for the community moving forward.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Trustee Burke.
Chloe and team, thanks for being here tonight, and to echo Trustee Van Ryn's comments, I congratulate you on one of the more succinct and efficient presentations that we've ever seen up here. You got your point across, and it was very well understood, so thank you for that. I noticed Smart Farm had been in the Daily Herald on August 29th, front page. Dr. Lori Walsh out there picking tomatoes or whatever she does. I've had a chance to meet her through, I usually attend every year the event that you guys host for public officials, so we get to know what's going on at the hospital. This always comes up in the great work that you're doing in the community, so really happy to see you guys here tonight. The only question I have, and if you could bring up the map, which was the large map of the whole site.
Sure. Go back.
What I was trying to appreciate, well, go to the next one, which shows the outline of, the blue outline, one more. Yeah, where you're showing. What I'm not clear about is where the existing structures for like the barn, art in the barn and all that. Can you point out to me where would those existing structures be on that map?
I might defer to my team just to make sure.
Just curious.
It's right here. So right here, this is the golf course on this side.
Right.
And the Ardner barn is going to be down this way. We did, when we put the pole barn placement of it, that there's still enough room to hold our Ardner barn event.
Oh, so the new pole barn will support art?
No.
Oh.
It's going to be strictly used for the...
Oh, I got you. So this is set behind that in effect?
Yes.
If I'm
So
thinking...
it's over there, it'll be behind the fence.
So I got you. So if I'm driving down 22 and I see that, all this is kind of in line with behind the existing barn? Is that the way to think about it?
There's currently a grass area that they park cars in. They have
Right.
light poles. That's where the new Smart Farm's going to be.
Okay. Great, that's helpful, because I couldn't figure out where it was.
Yeah.
I figured that, but I couldn't figure out where it was. No, I think it's great, it's a great program, it's absolutely in lockstep with our vision that we share and our brand for the village, so I think generally you see that we're very supportive of this, and but as President Richardson said, it's needs to be reviewed first by our Plan Commission, but I think it's really a good program. We're glad to have you guys here tonight to present it to us, so thanks.
Thank you.
Can you go back to the prior slide, the one that shows the, yes. So just for the benefit of the board and anyone in the public who watch this subsequently, the pink star, the big parcel, the 30 acres of farmland, one of the nice features about that activity is it doesn't create light pollution issues for the neighbors to the right or the east in Flint Lake Estates, or to the west in the estates of, or not the estates, that's Andrews neighborhood, the Enclave. And when we first met, I got it confused with the tiny hoop house that's down by the yellow star, which is the current. And so you clarified that for me when we met on this. So I like this plan because part of the gracious countryside living is, it's a lot of fun to go to Times Square in New York, but I wouldn't want to try to sleep overnight because the lights are on and it's wild, and it makes it very exciting to visit, but for the neighbors in Flint Lake Estates and in the Enclave, they want that tranquil, elegant feeling, the bucolic feeling that we have. So I like that plan because I think it's completely consistent with our comprehensive plan. And the blue star where the buildings are going to be done, we're grateful Good Shepherd has chosen to maintain the agricultural heritage of those buildings in terms of their impression. I hope that school children learn through this process when you host them that food comes from the ground, not from a can. It isn't something you pull out of the microwave. My mother grew up on a farm, my wife's father grew up on a farm, and I remember an awful lot from my grandparents about how food really comes here. So I think this is a wonderful use. The lighting thing is always a concern. The location gives you an advantage because you're not going uphill on this. In fact, the slope going up the hill towards the cardiac center probably acts as a further shield on light issues. So we're grateful. We will look forward to seeing the plan commissions and your collaboration and the result of that. Would any of your colleagues like to address the board before you adjourn?
I think Chloe handled most of that information very well.
Thank you.
Apologies, I stole the mic from everybody, but thank you so much.
Thank you. No, the welcome mat is always out here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 5B. Andy, do you want to introduce Daniel because you've gotten to know him in your role as...
Oh, I'd be more than happy to introduce Daniel. Daniel, come on up and face the music here at the podium. Daniel Weimer, who is the owner of DB Menswear on Northwest Highway. I think we've all gotten to know you pretty well because you have been good about showing up and meeting with us and talking with us. And public service announcement, Daniel would like to see all of us a little bit more frequently at DB Menswear. He never gets tired of reminding me of that. But always good to have you here, Daniel. Always good to have one of our current business owners back to see us, and in this case, back to discuss potential expansion plans. Yes. Yes, so we'd love to hear about that. So hit the little button so that we can hear you.
All right. Well, thank you for having me tonight again. These are just tentative plans. I've recently been signed finally a new 5-year lease on my storefront, so I was excited to finally get that underway, which took a couple of years. So that got done, but in the process and in the process, the building that is adjacent to the storefront, which is a flex space. There's Marty McLaughlin's office, Chris Parisi's office is there, and then there's a vacant medical office, and then next door is a chiropractor's office. And those two spaces, the doctor's office is vacant, and my landlord, and there has been zero action on office space, most like everywhere these days. So it kind of just sits there, not being used. And in the basement is my warehouse, which I have all 3 spaces. It's about 5,000 square feet in the basement. But in my lease, there's this clause where if somebody takes over the building or takes the above spaces, he can kick me out of the bottom space, which is all fine and well, but it puts me in a rather inconvenient position because I run my wholesale business out of that basement. So that's like probably 85 to 90% of my current business is wholesale, over the store being the retail business. So I proposed to him, I said, well, what if I took the upstairs spaces that are vacant? And he said, well, that's definitely a possibility. And that would add an additional 3,000 square feet to my current store, which is roughly 1,500 square feet. So it would give me a much bigger space, but also more than I need for just the storefront. So I started thinking, within that clause, if I did move into that space, that one clause would be removed from my lease, so I could have the basement in perpetuity of the new lease. I wouldn't be kicked out at any point in time. So that's more or less would make me sleep well at night, knowing that. So then I started thinking, okay, well, as I came to you guys before about having that new liquor license for having special events, it started me thinking, how could I, improve the shopping experience or expand the shopping experience and, kind of diversify my business and add to what we have in the community. And so I started thinking about different things that I could bring to the table in all of my travels, and realizing the things that we don't have in, the general area are, a few things, but more importantly, I was thinking of expanding on that concept of having a place where my shoppers come and kind of lounge and hang out, and a lot of my shoppers, they smoke cigars, and then I started thinking, there's not any cigar lounges around, there's not any type of lounges at all, just purpose-built for, pre-dinner or after dinner. So I started thinking, what would be the next stage if I wanted to bring this, obviously. So I called Mr. Burke and said, what do you think about this idea? He says, well, I think it sounds fantastic, but the first step would be to, address you guys and see what kind of special permit, because that's what he informed me that it would be, I would need a special permit if I wanted to expand in that regard and kind of look to do a cigar lounge or, a jazz lounge or something like that. Or I would have to come to you guys first. So that's what I'm here for.
Terrific. Well, you can see we have a custom. We go around and let trustees ask questions.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Trustee Scheller.
I guess I question what type of a permit, what really are we talking about? Special that we don't have now that he's requesting?
No, what I advised him is if he's looking to build out and use that for a specific use, we'd have to look at a special use permit potentially for that activity. Okay?
Okay.
That's all.
Oh, that's all. So, in other words, right now, we're talking about the concept. You don't know exactly what the permit...
No. I think we're getting the cart too far ahead of the horse. Really, what this is about tonight was more of a courtesy review. What I was more concerned about with Daniel was the board's appetite for some type of club, as you might have called it, membership club. Lounge, cigar lounge, sports lounge, whatever, right? And I think the assumption is that it's a bar, right? And it serves alcohol? Yes?
Correct.
Or no? So partly it was just to get the board's appetite on that. We're way early about permitting. We would have a separate courtesy review that we would hold with staff where he would have to come with his plan fleshed out. And he'd say, this is specifically now what I'm thinking about doing. So step one, this is a board courtesy review. Step two would be the staff courtesy review where we would start to say, hey, have you thought about it? Have you considered? Do you recognize? Do you realize there's a fire department requirement that needs to be met? That might be cost prohibitive for you.
Exactly.
That's what that review does. So that's step two.
Okay.
And then after that, both of those are courtesy reviews. If Daniel felt that he still felt emboldened and wanted to go forward, then likely there may even be a plan commission meeting or something required to do that.
Okay, no, obviously, anyone that has a new idea that can improve business and things that are going on in the village of Lake Barrington, you started your menswear, you've done well, you want to expand it. I'm all in favor of it at this point in time, let's put it that way. I like your shirt too, by the way.
Thank you.
Trustee Perkins.
Thank you, President Richardson. Would we be interested in another place that we can have live music, drinks, and I guess, I don't smoke cigars, but, a lot of people do. So, absolutely. I mean, I think, I don't know why we wouldn't say yes to that.
Thank you.
I'd say yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Appreciate that.
So were you talking about two different spaces?
So the two spaces are connected, but it has a brick wall that divides the two.
Okay.
So I would have an additional 200 square feet for the storefront, which would be a total of 1,600 square feet. And then the other side, which is the doctor's office currently, is 1,800 square feet.
And that would be your storage?
And that would be the lounge.
That would be the lounge and
lounge.
keep the, okay, gotcha.
So I would still have, it would be basically two separate entities. Obviously, this is all,
Yeah.
a pre-plan, just to see if it would be.
We'll hold you to it. Okay.
Right, so, in the idea, and I haven't even gone into the space yet, so we don't even know. But it would be 1,600 square feet of my store and then 1,800 square feet of said lounge.
Sure. All right. Sounds great.
Thank you.
Trustee Hayes.
Yeah, I echo her comments, and thanks for coming in.
I appreciate
You
that.
You know the village as it is already, so I don't see any reason why we wouldn't consider, what you're thinking.
Thank you.
We have places around here, minus cigars, that would be unique, but no issue on my end. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Trustee Schalmoser.
Thank you, President. I think it's a great idea. I think the closest concept, something like that, was Schaumburg. I think there's a cigar lounge right here, just
Exactly.
south side of Woodfield Mall. Long Grove, I think, maybe has a cigar, or used to have, I don't know if they're still in business.
Only Schaumburg is the only one that I know of.
Yep. So I think it's a great concept. I think there's appetite here, and we have something like that, so.
A lot of my customers that I've been, my sounding board are of great interest. So,
Yeah, I think you could do well.
thank you.
Thanks for presenting.
I appreciate it.
Trustee Van Ryn.
Thank you, President Richardson. So just for my own clarity, the location where you are now, you would vacate that completely and move into this new?
Right, it's the building right next door.
Got it,
So,
got it.
walking steps.
Right,
Correct.
right. No, I appreciate your creative thinking and the idea to bring more great places to our village, so thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Burke, further comments?
Sure, I mean, in the course of discussions with Daniel, and ongoing discussions with his landlord, who I talk to quite frequently, we also are everybody's looking at this as potential win-win, because there's always been a challenge with the office building there, of keeping tenants in there. Maybe the building's not the most attractive part of that lot, and so I think when you shared this with me, Dan, you said, well, it would require some facade changes, you'd have to open it up, put windows, brighten it up to make it a retail space.
Right.
But the point is, that would be really nice. In other words, this plan would then improve the aesthetic of that building, for one, improve the use of that building, for two, and then open space for another potential retailer to move into the other space, right? So it could really be a real win from a retail business perspective. So that's, when Daniel brought it to me, that's the way my brain works. Okay, we can pack more retail in there, he can get what he wants, the landlord gets what he wants out of that potentially, and we get more retail in that usable space. So that's kind of the vision that we were sharing. So, and felt that a good first step for Daniel was simply to take the temperature of the board to see how they would react to this type of lounge, which I think is cool, and there aren't very many things, and I have a feeling that Trustee Schallmoser could potentially be a customer there, but I'm just going out on a limb. Did I say that? I don't want to say anything, but I said, I think I know who your first customer might be, and he sits to my left. So, thanks for coming in, Daniel. I know you closed up at 7 and had to race over here.
I appreciate your time, everybody. Thank you. I know it's early and a little messy in my presentation, but I appreciate it nonetheless.
The welcome mat here is always out for you.
I appreciate it. You guys do make me feel welcome, so thank you. All right, have a good evening, guys.
Thank you. Agenda item 5C, I'll ask the administrator to introduce Steve Ramos from LRS Waste Hauling.
Sure. Steve Ramos is here from LRS Waste and Recycling. At the last village board meeting, we had approved a contract with LRS to take over our waste hauling, and Steve is here this evening to discuss all of that and notifying residents to all of you.
Welcome.
Right, thank you. Again, my name is Steve Ramos, Lakeshore Recycling Systems. I want to thank you for choosing us as your new garbage service and recycling provider. I don't think you'll be disappointed. I can honestly say that. I've been with the company 22 years now. I was really their first employee that wasn't family, right? So I started with the old owner, the original owner with Waste Management, and we really built the company organically, just through relationships. So what we understand of when we started the business is truly understanding the customer needs and making that relationship. So we started growing, buying one truck every 3 months in Chicago. And that's a very high capital business, and it's hard to do, but it truly was needed because there's just big corporations out there that don't understand the customer service orientation of the business. So on that aspect, I don't think you guys will be disappointed. We have grown immensely. We're in 7 states now because our new agenda is really forward-thinking of recycling. So we changed our name from Lakeshore Waste to Lakeshore Recycling Systems because there was just the need for a sustainable garbage company out there. And so what we do is focus on recycling more than just taking our garbage and throwing it in landfill. We look for alternatives. We look for different ways of doing organics. We try different programs. Sometimes they don't work. A lot of times they aren't working, but at least we try, right? And so we're willing to look forward to, and we invest actually millions in automation, artificial intelligence in our recycling facilities. So that being said, it keeps us pulling out clean recyclable materials to sell to other partners, and that's what keeps our costs lower and competitive with our big companies who own large landfills and directly take it to landfill. That being said, you guys did choose us, and again, I'm very happy for that, and the company is. I want to talk tonight about some of the transition and the expectations that you guys might have some worries about. That being said, I have some information to hand out so I can walk through what residents and what you guys can expect. Okay, so starting even as soon as tomorrow, we would like, if not, no later than Thursday. I'm off because of the holiday week, so it's Thursday is in 2 days. We would like no later than that to send out our first communication to the residents. It's this trifold that we would send out. It's in hard stock, so what I gave you is basically the second page. It's the trifold here. It would fold up. It's in hard stock. It's in bigger paper. And it gives all the explanation of us being their new garbage service. It's been useful on all our transitions. I mean, we've gave references to, as we did the RFP, and I'm sure some of those references spoke highly of the transitions. We take pride in them, actually, because we have such a good procedure of doing so. There are two trifolds on there. One is for Lake Barrington, and the other one is for Lake Barrington Shores. Obviously, there's about half the community is at Lake Barrington Shores, so it's going to take twice as much communication for us because there's the different regulations there of their cart sizes and where they need to place it, right? So start with Lake Barrington itself. They're going to all, with default, get a 95-gallon garbage can and a 65-gallon recycling cart. That's by default. So this brochure will go out, and in that little red box, we don't have it placed in there, but there will be a QR code in there. So people can scan that. It'll take them directly to our website, exact portal that they need to sign up. It's like 5-6 questions. If they want a bigger recycling cart or they want a smaller garbage cart, then it'll give them that option. Other than that, if they don't want to do anything at all, again, once they will get the 95, which is the bigger garbage, and the 65 recycling. And I don't like to call the 65 a medium because it's still large. It's a good size for the recycling, but I do want to promote to people if they want the 95 for recycling, we again want to recycle and do what's right for the environment. So for Lake Barrington Shores, a little different. They have space constraints. So with them, they have 65-gallon garbage, 35-gallon recycling. That's a much smaller recycling cart. They can choose to go to the 65 or 65, bigger recycling cart. They can also choose to decrease their size of garbage to 35. Again, a lot of times that might happen with seniors, or it might just happen because they have a big SUV in their garage and they can't fit, garbage cans or recycling carts into their garage. So that's why we want to give them their option. But their brochure will have a QR code also that will direct them to that. Again, if we send this brochure out tomorrow, if maybe the next day, then that gives them, Postal Service should get by Wednesday of next week, the 13th. If it lands in their mailboxes and they receive them on the 13th, then that gives them 4 weeks, gives them almost a full month for them to make their decision. It'll give them that deadline. And it'll be spelled out again on this brochure. Some of the things that will be on there also is just not the rules and regulations, which are the same that you had with waste management. It's, there are going to be change in pickup days, so that might be a concern, but we will communicate that heavily. It will again be on that brochure. We will put it on, the second part is basically the 1, 2, 3, 4th page is a map, right? I could not, our marketing department could not put this on or maximize it so that we can have streets written out, so we're going to work on that tomorrow. But it will be on the cart hanger, which would be the last page. So the cart hanger is something, once we deliver the carts, as soon as you pull open the cart and you look inside, because everybody's going to check to make sure they got a good, nice, clean one, new one, this cart hanger pops up, there's a little hook on there. And it's going to have exactly what's on there and a map that says their pickup day. Lake Barrington Shores, being 1,300 homes, again, a good portion of the contract, they're not going to change on their pickup days. That will stay Wednesdays. It's the services that are done on Mondays that on that map will be split up. So that's an additional 1,000 homes that will go from Monday service. Some of them, half of them will go to a Tuesday pickup. And that's what we'll spell that out on that cart hanger specifically, so that they do know their pickup day. The transition, what they can expect. So we will deliver our carts. That's the first page. I put a calendar on there. It shows their deadline, which like I said, would give them 4 weeks from tomorrow, would give them next 4 weeks Wednesday, which would be October 11th. It gives us time to order the equipment, and then we will start delivering on the 23rd, Monday the 23rd. That's going to be at Barrington Shores. We'll start delivering there. It'll take about 2 or 3 days to deliver those 1,300 carts. But Barrington Shores would go Monday, Tuesday. We'd just do deliveries. On Wednesday, on their pickup day, right after Waste Management picks up their garbage from the carts, the contractor that we have delivering is the same contractor that will be removing. So when that happens, we're thankful because it becomes a really smooth transition. Same company that's delivering is also picking up the carts. It is a slower process, so as we're picking up, it may take 2 or 3 days. So as you can see on that calendar, from the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, it still looks like we'll be picking up Lake Barrington Shores. Does that make sense? 25th, 26th, and 27th. During the 25th, 26th, and 27th, we'll also start delivering the rest of Lake Barrington. And once their garbage is picked up on Monday the 30th, those carts are empty. The delivery company will also be removing theirs. So they will be removed by Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesday of October. So the transition should happen within a week and a half at the end of October before the contract starts. And once this contract starts on November 1st, everybody's using our carts, and we're starting to pick up on the pickup days. That's it.
Terrific. Well, Steve, you've been here this evening, so you know we're going to go around the table. I'll start with Trustee Scheller.
Thank you, President Richardson. I guess knowing Lake Barrington Shores, living there for a number of years, the amount of people that are going to be able to scan that code to select what they're going to do is going to be a problem.
Right. So part of this, right, of that trifold, they will also have a phone number to call. There's a phone number. There's also, there's a direct portal, but like you said, they will just probably call. And the first prompt that we're going to have on there is going to be, if you are a Lake Barrington or Lake Barrington Shores resident, hit number 1. So they don't have to sit through our 6 other prompts of other services. So we're going to put that as the top prompt for them to hit.
Yeah, I would certainly make it obvious that they have an option to do that rather than hit the scan, because, as I said, probably most of them are going to have a difficulty scanning it and knowing what to do.
Sure.
The other part of there are a number of units, half of the community, which have one-car garages, and those are probably going to be the one, I live in one of them, that's going to be a 35 probably.
Okay.
So you'll have a lot of that. When people, after you do your first collection with the new, and they come for picking up, it's going to be obvious then, or the people are going to be aware of the fact that they're going to have to leave the waste management carts out. Okay.
So on that trifold, it does spell that out, and I will take any suggestions, but I will highlight some of that stuff, right? This is just a rough draft, but yeah, the phone number, like you said, be highlighted, or bold, right?
Yeah.
And maybe in bigger font, and then the size cart, that will bold that also.
Is there any preference to how you pick up? Well, it's right now in ODS, people just put them out by the road.
Did see that, right, and that's what we want. We want it lined up, because what we use is automation.
Automation,
Cart-
pick up, yeah, okay.
So if we can keep them all on the street, and as the driver just drives by, the automation, the cart
Will go up.
will be picked
Okay.
up by the arm.
All right, and just to make it communication between the management office too, because they get, oh, you didn't put your cart away after we picked up on Wednesday. Well, we're going to have a number of them sitting out there until we pick them up.
Good
So
point.
just-
And again, we'll highlight that, where we're asking all residents to leave their
Right.
cart out until Waste Management, or the company, it's called Cascade, is going to remove them.
Yeah.
So, once they're done with their first pickup, if we don't get it that Wednesday, then they'll get it out most likely by Friday.
Okay.
So, yeah.
You talk about landfill, Waste Management has the big landfill up by Graves Lake. Where do you have to cart your, when the truck gets full, where does it go?
It goes, so we invest in transfer stations. Right now, we have a transfer station in Rolling Meadows, but we also rent space at Waste Management Transfer. So it's just a bay. We drop off garbage, our garbage,
Yeah.
keep it separate, and then we put it in semi-loads to be brought to our recycling facility or our landfill. We have a landfill out in Atkinson.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually vowed never to own a landfill, because what we wanted to do is just focus on recycling and taking as much as we could and just forcing ourselves to recycle. But because the conglomerates own the landfill, they started making our costs much higher. So we ended up having to buy our own small little landfill. It's pretty big, but it's farther out than we cart the stuff. So that's why we have those transfer stations, is what they're called. But we do invest in those. That's what we're looking to buy more and more, especially up here in the northwest suburbs. We're looking to build a recycling facility so that we actually don't have to transfer it. We can just drop it to the
Yeah, because the
facility.
time
and
it
recycle.
takes from going from here over to wherever you're going.
Exactly, right.
Takes time. What was the final thing I was thinking of? Oh, it's one other matter, but no, obviously, we're looking forward to working with you, and it's a good deal, and
That's good.
thank you.
Thank you. And you touch on, this might have been the question, you said talk to the property manager?
Yeah.
We've been in a lot of communication back and
Okay.
forth to make sure that, and we dropped off a big examples of a 65 and a 35 recycling cart to the clubhouse, I guess you call it.
Yeah.
Management office, and then she's just deciding where to put it so that residents can use that as an example.
Yeah,
Do they
probably
want the 35, do they want the 65? They-
Probably up by the portico, when they put them out there and say, this is,
Sure.
your options are, and this is what you want.
Right, and we're going to do
Perhaps
that
we
here.
could do the same thing at Village Hall for the single-family
Yeah.
neighborhoods to reference too.
Absolutely.
We can put that in the mail pieces we're going to do.
Yeah, they'll be brand new too. As I talked with Sharon about it, if you guys want, you can keep it, we typically keep it in lobbies or whatever, because they're clean, they're brand new.
And I know Sharon, the administrator, had a question based on, John, you triggered something that she
It was
wanted.
actually just a response. I did receive an email today from Michael Brink at Waste Management about aligning the dates. And so he was saying that their last Wednesday service will be October 25th,
Okay.
which goes along with where you were saying that the cart delivery and removal for like Barrington Shores. And then their last Monday will be October 30th.
Perfect.
And he said, we'll be removing carts after the last service. Please ask residents to leave the carts out until we pick them up, because we have a third-party company coming and removing them.
Right.
Which is the same company that I know you use to drop them
Exactly.
off.
Yeah, and that is key, it's very important, and I'm glad that they were able to contract them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good, thank you.
Trustee Perkins.
I have no questions, but this is a great set of information, because people will ask me,
Okay, good.
and then I'll have a nice reference tool. And I love that Kevin's going to get the word out.
We,
Because,
talk about
so,
get the word
yeah.
out, and I'm sorry to interrupt, we have it all electronic version too. So if you want to put it on Facebook or the Lake Barrington website, things like that, I'll share it all with Sharon, and you guys can utilize it anywhere you want. Too much communication, I find, could also sometimes hurt you, right? Sometimes they start looking at this stuff. The trifold is nice because it's thick stock, and it's people, by having your logo on there, people then know it's official. It's not just junk mail. But then if they start getting more and more postcards, they're just like throwing it away and they're just disregarding. When they get that first one is really key, right? So, yeah. Sometimes I find too much communication or too much time actually between the first communication and then the rollout, it could hurt you, right? So I think it's perfect timing with the 4-week notice. It's plenty of time for people to actually act on it.
They can pop a little magnet up on the refrigerator.
Yeah.
They'll be good to go. All right, thank you for your presentation.
Trustee Hayes.
Clearly, you do this for a living. No, I really don't have anything. I can see some pitfalls, people out of town, but I'm sure you've dealt with all that, and I appreciate you coming with this level of detail.
Great.
So I wish you well in this, and I wish you well in executing your contract.
Thank you, definitely. And also to touch on that, I talk too much, maybe, it's just like my kids say, but...
That never happens here.
Part of that communication, right, we're dealing with the office and Sharon, so we'll make it easy. I like to say, the best partnership, I mean, we're contractors for you, but we like to feel as though you guys to feel that we're just an extension of Lake Barrington, right? So we're your garbage department, not just the service to contractors. We're actually your garbage department, right? So she'll have our operations manager, general manager, my cell phone, my coordinator, just a slew of, 5 or 6 people that she can email, and everybody can be on the thread, and all those stragglers that may be on vacation or whatnot, or not, they might bring in their cart, we'll be used to that. So it'll be about a 30-day process after that. She'll get emails, we'll get calls, and we'll just schedule those to get picked up. There's not a problem. Yeah.
Trustee Schallmoser?
You just answered the question I had, so that's good. So there will be follow-up for the one-offs, the 5
Yes.
people away for several months at a time?
Right. And we'll work on some type of plan, depending on how many carts there are to pick up. We might ask you guys for a staging area, which Sharon has already provided us a staging area for the new carts, so that we can roll this out smooth with the amount of trucks that we're going to have coming out. They're pickup trucks with flatbeds, so it's not like a lot of damage is being done in the streets. But yeah, we'll work with that without a problem.
Thank you.
Trustee Van Ryn?
Thank you, President Richardson. I had the Branding and Communication Committee, so I'm very interested in working with you or whoever on your team is responsible for these. Before they go out, we have a few
Definitely.
minor edits, so whatever you share with Sharon, if that could be editable,
Yes.
then I'd be happy to redline that. I think it might be easiest
Fantastic.
to get
Yeah.
it out quickly.
We love
right?
that. In fact, and before we send out anything, we'll always go to you guys for approval. Obviously, that should be going without said, right? So
Perfect.
we will always go to you for approval before sending anything.
Yeah, and I'd love to align on timing, right? So if this is the first piece that goes out, maybe we send out the second, and you know what I mean?
Okay.
So we have a really nice cadence. To your point earlier, we don't want to flood people, but we do
Right.
want to inform them. So we have a goal in mind of making them aware at the right
Perfect.
time.
Maybe like a postcard in 2 more weeks, right? Saying, hey,
Exactly.
reminder, if you want to change your cart, here's what you should do.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I could get that contact person from
Great.
your side, that would be
Yes.
fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
No problem.
Trustee Burke?
Hi, Steve. Nice to meet you. Thanks for being here. We're excited about the new contract and working with you. Your presentation is very buttoned up and clear, and we appreciate your collaborative effort. I also want to congratulate you on your 22 years and the fact that you're the first non-family member, because having been part of family-owned businesses before, and me being the you guy who stepped in, it's not always easy, but it also says a lot about you if that family trusts you to be out representing them.
thank
So
you.
good for you.
Thank you.
One question, sort of once we get to steady state, forget, there's transition, we've got all this that we've talked about. The only issue that we've ever had with the previous waste hauler was, and I live on a court, for occasionally, sometimes we just got missed, like communication between drivers or something, and then I happen to be our HOA president, and the calls come.
Okay.
In the past, I would call Sharon to bother you, but if I don't have to call Sharon, will we have area or direct people for immediate kind of things, the problem I used to have with the other hauler?
Yes.
Is you'd get a contact, and they'd be like a national customer service person, and I'd be saying there were 6 people in my court that didn't.
Didn't get picked
And and they'd be like, I don't know what to do with that information. So
Right.
then I'd call our village administrator, and she would say, I think I know, I can get a hold of somebody locally. So I'm just curious how your customer service process works.
Yeah.
If someone like me says, hey, I have this issue that occurred this week, who do I talk to?
So anybody on the board, right? And I wish I could give my cell phone out, and I used to, and I started the company doing that, which this is, my wife doesn't like. Everybody calls it my cell phone, right? You're never on vacation. But there will be an email change. So I can give you my email. It'll be Steffi, who's my coordinator, and a operations manager. But if a resident does call, they will have to go through the prompts, and they can even go to our website. And the
Right.
first thing that, in one of the prompts on the website, missed pickup. And then all you have to do is click that
Okay.
and put in your address. And then it's documented for us to pick up and to recover. So things about the recovery, right? Some people may put their garbage out late and then say, hey, you missed me, right? So
Yeah.
we're not going to contest it, we're just going to go pick up, because that's the bottom line, is make sure that everybody's serviced and taken care of. If it's habitual, then we see those
Yeah.
trends, right? And we actually have cameras on the trucks. So
Right.
we can show, hey, listen, we were here at 7:15. Might be early, but we're supposed to pick up after 7, you didn't have it out.
Right.
Sometimes we get there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they don't have it out. So, right? So,
No, I mean, the typical issues that we've seen, for whatever reason, it's sort of like been the whole court. It hasn't been a single person, and
Right.
so people tend to want to call me.
Call you.
And I like to do it as efficiently as I can. In other words, I don't want to call Sharon to call somebody to go to the website. If there's an easy way and you say, I can,
if you guys don't mind,
direct people
I
to
want to
the
give you all
website.
my business card at the end
Okay,
of the day.
but I also don't want to bother you for that either, because
Doesn't
you
matter.
have more important things to do.
No, it's fine.
Okay,
That's part of the business, right?
very
So,
good.
yeah.
Thanks for being here, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. And as someone who has been told I have the gift of gab, it's always nice to meet another with similar DNA. So you're more than welcome here. I've been mayor a long time, and in the eyes of my critics, far too long. But I've learned one thing: you cannot communicate enough. And so as Trustee Van Ryan, who chairs our comms and branding committee, indicated, we're going to be running supplemental hard copy, direct mail communications to our folks, and she will work with the appropriate people in your company on this. I really believe in overdoing communication on this.
Okay.
This is a significant life change. People have gotten and Trustee Perkins actually kind of touched on this, people have gotten very comfortable with the current service. It's one of those things in life that you take for granted, but it's absolutely essential. And I'm going to tell you how this is going to go down, and this is why I want to overdo it. I got 19 jokes and 7 stories, and all of these people have heard them about 100,000 times, but you haven't.
Okay.
Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to get home from work, and my wife's going to tell me, this is my fault. And I'm going to say, well, why didn't you look at the 2 mailings that the company sent? That's why we're going to overdo the communication on this. It's not a lack of confidence in what you're all doing. We believe in really emphasizing and preparing people for changes. However positive, change is still change.
Right.
And so we're going to work closely with you, and we're going to run a lot of direct mail on this. And so coordinating the in-home dates, the contact numbers, I'm not sanguine because my kids are grown and gone that I would know how to do that scanning thing. I'm 66 years old. I don't do that. I call somebody. And so we have, our demographic of our community skews older. So we need to put your 1-800 number on all of our comms, because I'm going to tell you that not a lot of them are going to always want to do the scanning option, and Trustee Scheller touched on that. We want to have multiple channels into our residents so that they really know what to expect. We can live with change if we are made aware of its pending arrival and have time to plan and adapt our behavior to that change. We're excited about doing business with your company, and we look forward and know it will be a successful collaboration. So we want to have you emphasize not only the scanning option, but the telephone option.
Sure.
And she will work on our comms with this, and then perhaps work with your folks so that the messaging is the same.
Sure.
And I gave the administrator a few edits already
Okay.
on your piece to have you suggest. So she'll share those with you tomorrow.
Great, excellent. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, we're excited, and thanks for coming. Where do you live?
I live in Arlington Heights.
So you had a bit of a drive up Route 14.
Not bad.
We appreciate you coming all this way.
I was telling Sharon, so I'd like to look through the communities that we're going to do, right? And I own a classic Mustang, that's what I do. I'm an empty nester right now. My kids are in college. The way me and my wife spend time is, and we were driving through your neighborhood, and it's just a beautiful neighborhood. And so I've been very happy to get this contract. My wife has been happy to get this contract because we've been driving through the neighborhood every weekend.
Well, if you and your wife are interested in buying a home, there's one at 28433 Casey Court that will soon be on the market. Soon be on the market, so. Yeah, we got great neighbors. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Okie dokie.
Oh, and one more touch. I do agree with you on the phone number, and that's why we put the prompt as the first thing, so that they don't have to wait, right?
Yeah.
I think that was one of the first things that we did when we realized, that was one of our first long-term rollouts. That was the thing. People were on hold too long in the prompts, and it just gets frustrating. Especially for a new customer. Like you said, change is difficult for people.
Yeah, I heard a comedian talk about that if you've not lived a good life and you end up in the netherworld, part of that arrival in the netherworld is you have to call and say, press 1 for suntan, sunblock, and press 2 for cold water bottles, and press 3. Yeah. Just know that people associate telephone prompts with the Dante said is the 8th level of hell. Yeah, so anything you can do to simplify it is greatly appreciated by all of us.
Right, okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you much.
Appreciate everything.
Okay, there's actually another item under the President's remarks, and I simply want to introduce to the public Melissa Wyack, our new village clerk. We are delighted you are here, and if you will take a moment, because we have residents who will watch these. My adult children in Washington, D.C. say they watch these meetings when they have insomnia. But we're thrilled you're here, and you have to get the inside joke. Trustee Schaller and I have had friendly banter over the years between two fine, outstanding Catholic universities, Marquette and Notre Dame. So you got to start with where you went to college. And I had nothing to do with this.
I'll just see myself out. Hello, I'm Melissa Wyack. Definitely happy to be here. I hail from Northwest Indiana. That's where I grew up. I went to St. Mary's College, Notre Dame, and loved it there. Then I decided to relocate to Washington, D.C., where I was there for the betterment of 11 years. Went to American University there, received my master's degree in public administration, worked in kind of all facets of government, all the way from the local level to the federal level, and then kind of made my way back here. I miss my mom. If I'm just going to be candid, I missed Chicago Bears football, but ask me how I feel about that in a few weeks. And last but not least, deep dish pizza.
Wonderful. Well, we're thrilled you're here with us, and we invite your active participation in the community outside of work as well as at the office.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Agenda item 6, this is the first opportunity in the agenda for the public to address the village board on issues that are not on the agenda. I see no one seeking recognition. Agenda item 7 is the consent agenda. We have this is a great Texas phrase, a passel of items under the consent agenda. So I'm going to go through them quickly since we reviewed them in the committee of the whole. 7A is consideration of a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an agreement with Chalmers Street Consulting, LLC, for professional services relative to the development of an improved building permitting process for the village. Recommended action, motion to approve. Resolution number 2023-R-14, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an agreement with Chalmers Street Consulting, LLC, for professional services relative to the development of an improved building permitting process for the village. 7B, consideration of a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an agreement with Work Solutions for professional services relative to the development of a website portal for use by residences of the village. Recommended action, motion to approve resolution number 2023-R-15, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an agreement with Work Solutions for professional services relative to the development of a website portal for use by residences of the village. 7C, Barn Stomp, recommended action, motion to approve the temporary use special event application in Class K special temporary liquor license for the Barn Stomp at the Friar Farm on September 30, 2023. D, Pepper Park Fest, recommended action, motion to approve the temporary use special event for Pepper Park Fest on Saturday, September 23. E, consideration of an ordinance amending the village code relative to driveways and culverts. Recommended action, motion to approve ordinance number 2023-0-22, an ordinance amending the village code Title 6, quote, Public Ways and Public Property, close quote, Section 6-4-5, quote, Hard Surface Driveways, Definitions and Specifications, quote, and Title 9, quote, Subdivisions, quote, Section 9-5-3, quote, Required Improvements, quote. F, consideration of an ordinance adopting by reference the Lake County Watershed Development Ordinance as amended on or about July 11, 2023, and amending Chapter 1 of Title 10 of the Lake Barrington Village Code. Recommended action, motion to approve ordinance number 2023-0-23, an ordinance adopting the Lake County Watershed Development Ordinance as amended on or about July 11, 2023, and amending Chapter 1 of Title 10 of the Village of Lake Barrington Village Code. G, consideration of an ordinance amending the compensation of the Village of Lake Barrington Village Treasurer. Recommended action, motion to approve ordinance number 2023-0-24, an ordinance amending the compensation of the Village of Lake Barrington Village Treasurer. H, consideration of awarding a contract to Waterwell Solutions Illinois LLC. Help me with that pronunciation, Sharon. Adamawak, thank you. Wisconsin for the well number 1 maintenance and rehabilitation in the amount of $38,774. Recommended action, motion to award a contract to Well Water Solutions of Illinois LLC of Adamawak. I didn't get that right. Say that again. Thank you. Wisconsin, pardon me, for well number 1 maintenance and rehabilitation in the amount of $774 even. May I have a motion in block? So moved. By Trustee Hayes, may I have a second?
Second.
By Trustee Van Ryn. Clerk will please call the roll.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, of course you may. Chair yields.
Sorry, and Jim, you weren't here earlier, but all the intellectual property related to St. Chalmers Consulting and the WorkX, that's all ours, correct?
No, I would have to qualify that. I think because they're licensing pieces of software to us.
Yes, that's their intellectual property, but everything else around that is ours, is that correct?
It does say it is, but I want to revisit that. I don't know that I did not know that was a goal of the villages, and I would not have assumed that was the case if there are parts of the package that are used.
Well, and to address your question, a thought occurs to me that didn't occur earlier when we talked about it in Committee of the Whole is the simplest way to handle this is to license it back to them, our portion, and that's how we get our payday, and we don't have to create a sales force and try to sell something, because we're not in the business of selling software.
Yeah, that's fine, and obviously it can be looked at before anything gets executed, so.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you raising this, because I think there's going to be a pleasant surprise on the back end here for us in terms of demand for this, because I've asked a lot of mayors. I want to be clear. I've asked 8 mayors, do they have anything like this? Nada. So thank you. So with that, Chair would like a motion in block. We had it moved by Trustee Hayes, seconded by Trustee Van Ryn. Clerk will please call the roll.
Trustee Hayes?
Yes.
Trustee Van Ryn?
Yes.
Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee Schaller?
Yes.
Trustee Schellmoser?
Yes.
President Richardson?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Agenda item 8 is the Treasurer's report. Mrs. Hirsch. I know that I'm a wise guy and I often cause you aggravation, but you do such a great job, and it was
Thank
such a
you.
pleasure to vote for this pay increase. I'd be happy to
Oh, that's
increase
very
it again
kind
if
of
you
Thank
promise to stay.
Thank you to everybody. I will say that what I have tonight is not very nearly exciting what's going on before the board tonight, but you got to get through it, so. Anyway, so in front of you tonight are the financials that for the 3 months ended July 31st, 2023, so we are through our first quarter of our fiscal year, and you'll see we have assets of $3,377,000. Our liabilities at $409,000. Our equity is at $2,968,000. Revenues for the 3 months is $1,989,000. Our expenses are at $2,579,000, giving us a net loss of $589,000. That's all planned, so nobody freak out on me. And that's compared to last year, at the same time, we had a net income of $441,000. But there's been a lot of unusual activity this year, so when we pull that out, it's mostly road work, which is all planned. Our regular operation net income is actually $286,000, compared to last year at this point is $459,000. So ordinary revenues are actually pretty similar. It's the expenses have gone up a little bit, and that's just happening over time. So we know our garbage, our waste, what does he like to refer to himself as now?
Waste hauler?
Well, the recycling, yeah. Anyways, those services are becoming more expensive over time. Our police services have become more expensive over time. Our payroll is a little more expensive over time. All to be expected. And then what we've done every month when we pull these things out, we pull those extraordinary items out. There's just a few this month to mention. A couple of culverts were repaired, just like $6,000 in extraordinary work that was done. So nothing that's really crazy out there. So then if we turn to the budget to actual report, which is my page 12 and 13, and I fear yours are different page numbers. You'll see our revenue is 41% actual to budget, so running a little bit ahead of budget. And then on page 13, our expenditures are at 43% actual to budget. So once again, running a little bit ahead, but we have a lot of things that are front-ended. Our road work is pretty much done, and we've received all our business licensing and so forth, early on. So that'll affect those percentages. But the budget's running as expected. We are budgeting quite a large loss for the year, so nothing to be concerned about when you look at those numbers. So any questions on that before I move on from the general fund?
Questions for the treasurer?
Okay, we'll go to page 14, and you can see there we have $239,000 of current assets. Our plan is to build that over the years before we do road work from that fund again. Just a little side note in MFT, I don't know if people realize this, but you probably noticed it at the pump. It's a per gallon price. It's not a percentage, the motor fuel tax. And it now goes up each year with CPI. So that was something our governor changed in July of 2020, I believe. And this year, the CPI was like 7%, so there was a little bit of a jump. And even though gasoline prices are going down on MFT, it changes obviously with fluctuation with gallons used, but that number is staying pretty consistent. Okay, and then the last fund to mention is the water sewer fund. There's been no unusual activity in that fund this month. We have about $1.8 million in current assets. We will start to spend some money that's been budgeted on repairs as you voted for the well repair this month. We do have some things that are in the plans for this year for that fund, but nothing has really happened as of yet. So that's all I have in the financial statements before I get to the warrants, but happy to answer any questions.
Questions for the treasurer? You may proceed.
Okay, so warrant A, I just have one to mention that's a little more unusual in nature, and that's Service Master for $5,777.82. We had a leak above the water cooler, which caused a fair amount of damage. And that came in under budget, and we are talking about going to insurance with that and just seeing what happens with that. And then on warrant B, there's about looks like four to mention. The first one is for Arrow Road construction, and that's $196,572.99. The good news is that is almost paid off. We've got about $160,000 left for that program, which was over $1 million this year. So that's good to see that's getting paid down. And then there's two invoices for HR Green. The first one, $11,212.32, and that is for construction oversight for the Hillside Hillview project. and then $6,335, and that is for the 2023 road program construction oversight. And those contracts are also winding down, as you would expect, as the work gets completed. And then just one more to mention, it's municipal one, it's $2,202. That's a new one that I haven't seen before this year, and there was a website audit. And if there's more questions, you can ask the village administrator, but it was to be sure our website was ADA compliant, is the way I understand it. And that's all I have, but any questions, happy to address.
Questions for the treasurer on either the financial statements or the warrants? I appreciate you mentioning that it's a planned loss for the year.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Don't anyone freak out on me.
Thank you, thank you. There being none, Chair would like a motion to approve and block agenda items 8A through C. A, approve the financial statements as of July 31, 2023. B, pay bills in the amount of $77,818.58 as listed on the accounts payable warrant A, dated September 5, 2023, and C, pay bills in the amount of $624,791.39 as listed on the accounts payable warrant B, dated September 5, 2023. May I have a motion in block? Thank you by Trustee Perks, second by Trustee Hayes. Thank you both. Clerk will please call the roll.
Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Trustee Hayes?
Yes.
Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee Schauer?
Yes.
Trustee Schalmoser?
Yes.
Trustee Van Ryn?
Yes.
And President Richardson?
Yes, thank you. Agenda item 9 is the administrator's report.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have one item this evening. I just wanted to let everyone know, with the recent passing last month of the village code with regards to long grass and weeds, I have actually had Melissa go out for me and drive around and do some code enforcement for me. And we have 3 letters that will be going out tomorrow with citations for being in violation, and they will be due to come back for the September 21st adjudication date. So they will be sent out regular mail as well as certified with a return receipt.
Question for council on this. If a resident fails to comply, what happens next?
They'll be, if they have not complied by the hearing date, they are subject to a fine. And the fine,
And if they choose not to pay the fine?
then we record the fine against, as a lien against the property.
Got it. Thank you. Other questions on this? Terrific. Then we can move to agenda item 10. Melissa, anything you'd like to report in terms of your first week or a couple of weeks with us?
I have no report, thank you.
Agenda item 11, reports of the standing committees. A, branding and comms. Trustee Van Ryn.
I'll keep it short this evening because based on the plan that's coming together, I'll have a longer one next month. But just excited to see our LinkedIn engagement growing with 145 followers at this point. So we continue to escalate our storytelling there, and a lot of activities coming up this month and next to promote as well. Thank you.
Thank you. 11B, economic development. Trustee Burke.
Thank you. 2 quick reports. First one is, I believe last meeting, I was not here in person, I was here via the phone. John Dennis was here from GC Realty, and he was talking about his proposed, the purchase of 22159 Pepper Road, the former Hubschman Engineering Building and other places. Subsequent to that, I have had a call with him where we went through a lot more of the detail of what he wanted to do. We also had a courtesy review that Sharon organized with members of the staff and some of our consultants to look at a proposed parking lot expansion that they wanted to do. And there will be a follow-up to that meeting tomorrow, is that correct, Sharon?
Yes.
Again, on parking lot expansion. And then I have a follow-up call with John again on Thursday to kind of recap where they are in the process now that he's had his 2 courtesy reviews. What I really wanted to communicate, and I think you saw evidence of this when he was here, GC Realty is a local company out of Chicago that is doing development kind of out the I-90 West corridor, and I think he explained that to us, and they are looking for sort of underused, undervalued properties. That's their MO, and they like to take Class D type properties and make them Bs or As. And I told them that we certainly like the sound of that, and that we're hoping that they're very, very successful at this endeavor at Pepper. And he said they've already made the rounds here, and there are some other potential projects, but they have to get this one turning cash flow positive first. So we certainly, I appreciate, Sharon, that you, staff, and our support folks have been, and he's been complimentary of the review process, because we want to make them feel welcome. We want to reinforce to them that we're easy to do business with. And in fact, I'm working with him on a couple of ideas for how to use that office space, and that's what we're talking about on Thursday, because we're still up in the air about what's the best use of that front two-story office, since office space is not in demand. Could it be retail, which we're discussing, whether or not that could be retail, but a really good guy, a really good company, and we're lucky they chose us, I believe, and so we need to show them how we feel about them by working with them and help them be successful. The other thing is, I just want to talk briefly about Kelsey Roadhouse. We all know they recently celebrated their 50th anniversary, and they had a big event a couple of weekends ago. I wasn't here, but I know some people here went. I heard really good things about that. I had spoken to Paul Maloney, the owner. By the way, they had a piece in Quintessential Barrington last week. I don't know if anybody gets that, but he had a nice little one-page on that. Plus, they took out a full-page ad in Quintessential Barrington. He was thrilled about the response to the 50th, and if you also recall, we had granted him a special use permit to use the parking lot across the street, and he reported that they did need to use that. They were crowded enough. It worked out very well, no safety issues, no safety concerns. In fact, it worked out so well that he feels that, he wants to pursue a more permanent type of relationship with the school board on, the temporary use of that. So just wanted to follow up with everybody that they took a lot of precautions to make sure that the crossing was safe. It went on without incident, and they had a very, very good event. And finally, he just says things are great. He just appreciates, he loves doing business in Lake Barrington. He appreciates the support that the community and the board has given him, and they're just really excited about where they're going with their future. It exceeds all their wildest expectations. So all things positive with the Kelsey Roadhouse, and that's my report.
That's fantastic.
Question, just number one, I've got 32 guys that are going back to the Kelsey Roadhouse on Thursday. Lake Barrington Shores Men's Luncheon Group is going down there, and they have some challenges the first time, so we'll see how it works out, but they've been very cooperative to work with us. I think Thursday, there's a ribbon cutting at Chicago Kitchen and Bath, the Chamber is having, that's in the Pepper Park complex. Just a reminder for people to appear for that. The Chamber's having it. Administrator, we were there at the previous ribbon cutting down the street, so we have that. And a quick question, whatever happened to Insignia? Weren't they going to, when I saw the gal from Chicago Kitchen and Bath, I said, oh, it's Insignia, is that? No, we're different. Wasn't Insignia going to come out here and be next to Angel Watersoft?
No, I think that they are the ones who were spinning off from that, or she was a former employee at Insignia.
Okay.
That's the connection.
That's the connection.
I think they had the name. I think they had the name of Insignia.
Or they bought, I think she purchased Insignia now, that, right?
Yeah.
But they're calling it Chicago Kitchen and Bath.
So maybe
they're not using Insignia.
I don't know, John. I don't know the answer to that. I remember her saying that she was a former employee, had purchased Insignia.
Exactly.
And was looking to move up here.
And it seemed like she had the right to the name, too.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Maybe they just chose
She called it Chicago, yeah, because
to change that when they redid it.
He said they've been in Chicago Kitchen and Bath, been in business a number of years or whatever, so. But anyhow, that's Thursday, so.
Okay.
No business in the community.
Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
11C, External Relations. Sharon and I have been working mighty hard on a lot of things together. the residents in Wedgewood Trail off of Miller Road are discussing amongst themselves and some came to us with a proposal to realign the Lake County Forest Preserve's trail outlet on Miller Road with Wedgewood Trail and Wedgewood Lane, excuse me. And so I worked on a memo that Sharon sent out that simply told them what the process would be, because the village does not own the Forest Preserve and the village does not regulate Miller Road. The county owns the Forest Preserve and the county regulates Miller Road. So the practice we've had is simply, if something is neighborhood specific, the village has gone in 50-50 and we get the reimbursement back over 10 years, and we do it by creating a new line item on the tax bill. So everybody's all in. And was asked, well, what do does it have to be unanimous? No, it does not have to be unanimous. The standard, which allows for some flexibility that I've created over the years, is clear consensus, which I've defined as 2/3, 2 out of 3. We'll see what the residents say and what the reaction is, and I'll do some work with our county officials to find out. I had two conversations briefly with Lake County Division of Transportation. Betsy Duker was very, very helpful. And the memo that you all received earlier is just outlines it. There's nothing to add to that. As you all know from the committee as a whole, I've been working a lot with Sharon and with Julia on the Six Sigma project about digitization of business processes in the village. Also had worked with Sharon and with Council, Mr. Bateman, on the code enforcement letters, and then visited with the folks from Good Shepherd who presented earlier this evening on the Hoop House proposal. So been a busy month for us, and thank you all for the good wishes. I am happy to tell you that my wife is recovering from her nasty fall and has gotten some mobility back, and she'll be fine in a couple of months. It'll all be away, and we got very lucky. So thank you for the good wishes there. 11D, Finance, HR, and Admin, Trustee Hayes.
Only activity that will happen is the 2 job descriptions for the clerk position and then also Peggy's are going to be finalized this month. And then we're going to look, and I was talking with Andy separately on this, putting that out to ourselves first and seeing the response we get. Sharon and I talked about that. And if we fail to find, and we don't think that's going to be the case, but if we don't get a response we're looking for, then we can go and do a retained search. But at this point, we're going to try that first, because it's very expensive to do a retained search, as you all know. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. 11E, Roads and Infrastructure.
Thank you, President Richardson. Quite a slow month this month. A lot of road work is winding down for the season. HR Green sent a preliminary report on their analysis, what they could do for us to look at our roads going forward. They sent that to Mr. Peterson. We have yet to dive into that. At our next meeting, we'll have more insight. At last month's BACOG meeting, there is a well water testing event coming up. I forwarded that to Mr. Peterson as well. Testing, you can pick up kits between October 2nd and the 10th at all of the villages, our village included, and this will be done, you can drop it off on October 11th, 11 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. at the Barrington Area Library. So something very, very important, and they do a really good job. Make everyone aware. That's all I have.
Thank you. 11F, Public Safety, Trustee Schaller.
Thank you, President Richardson. Lieutenant Kerr, front and center. Give us an update on the Lake County Sheriff's Department, and while you're making that move, Administrator Peterson and Village Attorney, we met with 3 chief deputies just recently. Christopher Covelli, who's the face of the Lake County Sheriff's Department. Anytime you see the PR, an incident, he is the face. Gianni G.M. Berduca, who is the chief deputy of the Traffic Division, your division,
yes.
here, and Kevin Eckenstaller, who's chief deputy of investigations and things like that. I thought it was a great meeting, nice opportunity to meet the people beyond, over and above, but we appreciate Lieutenant Curry coming to our meetings and bringing us firsthand what's going on. So, what's up?
Just real quick, you probably saw it in your email, but we did respond to a fatal traffic crash on the 16th in Waterview Court where an 87-year-old woman crashed into a tree. If you need a copy of the media release, I have it here. But other than what was in the media release, I don't have any other information on that. So, anybody have any questions on that?
It's the first traffic fatality in Lake Barrington shores since I've lived there. It just happened, unfortunately.
Did we know if it was a medical emergency, or we don't know?
I think it's under investigation, yeah.
It's still under investigation.
Yeah.
I don't have any information independent of the release right now, so.
Yeah, she just left the road and hit a tree.
Right.
Yeah.
On a lighter note, it seems to me that Lake Barrington has unofficially adopted Axel as their canine of choice. So I was able to secure a number of his rookie cards. So if you guys would like a Axel rookie card, I have these for you. I also saw that it looks like he will be doing a demo at the barn stop, so.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And they do, the demos are very interesting, so if you have an opportunity to take a look at that, it takes all of their training and wraps it up into one 15 to 20 minute performance, so.
If I might add, that post that we published on LinkedIn with his picture was our highest engagement to date.
Yeah,
So he's very popular.
We find the same whenever we post to the dogs, people go crazy for him, so.
Where's your rookie card?
That one is a little bit ago, so.
Collector's
It's probably worth a lot of money. You know. Actually, it'll be 25 years next month, so.
Congratulations. Thank you.
With that, I don't have anything further. If anybody has any questions or concerns.
Everything's under control.
Question for the lieutenant? We are grateful for your outstanding service.
Thank you, sir.
The Barrington Countryside Fire Protection District, as there is with law enforcement, there is a high demand and a little response for new candidates to join the police departments, sheriff's department, and fire departments. And the Barrington Countryside Fire Protection District is contracted with PSI, so a lot of their people are contract. And they have had a problem with, they have 9 openings for the 43 positions, so they're having a tough time. And at their last meeting, in order to be even more competitive, just as an alert to people that live south of Miller Road in the Barrington Countryside Fire Protection District, I don't know what happened to the budget, but they gave every firefighter and paramedic a $15,000 increase and new recruits. So the basic salary for many of those would be $85,000. So they're hoping to obviously build back the force and provide the service. But I was surprised that they voted on it at their last meeting. And so moving forward, Chief Motisi has done a lot to change the face of the department and has done a lot of work towards improving it. And to that end, they're having an open house in connection with the Pepper Park event on the 23rd. And so I would encourage everyone to go down there and take a look at the facility and their equipment and the department themselves. That will be on September 23rd, same day as the Pepper Park event. Motisi says we believe in the department, it's a family, and so he's really dedicated towards improving it and making it even more efficient and work well, so we're part of that. And the Wakanda, obviously Wakanda is a different arrangement. They are all full-time people for the most part. The incident rate for 410 incidents just in the month of July, and 285 of those are rescue and emergency. So when you see that ambulance coming down 59 and going down Kelsey Road, they're doing a lot of trips. So we're very fortunate to have the Sheriff's Department and again, the 2 fire departments take care of the village on our behalf. So appreciate that. I thought I saw someone in the back, I thought it was from one of the departments, but he left. So I was going to invite him up, but apparently he left. So thank you, that's the end of my report.
Thank you. 11G, Open Space and Special Events, Trustee Perkins.
Thank you.
And what grade is Lily in?
Lily's in 6th grade.
No, she's 3.
I know.
I saw that yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, she's lovely. I saw her out walking with the dogs the other day.
Yeah.
And Dave and you are entering the fun years.
She's lovely. Have you heard us?
Don't worry, you got a lot of company. We've all been through this. She will love you again when she's 20.
Hopefully. Okay. Well, first off, our final concert at Friar Farm was this past month, a few weeks ago, and it was Mark DeMonico, and it was wonderful. It was a great concert. We had a great turnout. We had some special appearances from his daughter and another from one of his past students that is in Station Middle School now. And just a lot of, he had several little helpers up there, so the kids really enjoyed that. And moving forward, for, let's see, September 20th, the veterans of LBS are having they're having a talk about the wonderful services that they provide. And it's just like things that they thought would interest the community. So you can go out there September 20th at 7 p.m. at the Lodge Ballroom. Is that what it is? Okay, good. And then Saturday, September 30th from 4 to 8, of course, we have the Barn Stomp. And everyone is welcome, and we're looking forward to a nice evening. And yeah, there'll be food and s'mores and...
Who's the music?
The music is, what's their name again? Pipe Dreams. We had them this summer, actually, at our July concert, and they had such a great, they were really good. They were fun. They had a huge array of, music genres on it. It was really nice. They are actually parents of Barrington students. So, and they just kind of got their little band together, and they're a really fun band. So yes, we will have that. We'll have s'mores. We'll have an ice cream truck. We'll have a food truck, and it's going to be a fun time. That is from 4 to 8. Again, Saturday, September 20th. 30th, I'm sorry. No, it's September 20th is the Veterans of LBS. Yes, September 30th, sorry. Thank you, guys. And that's all.
Thank you. There's agenda item 12, there is no old business. 13, there are no ordinances. 14, no resolutions. Agenda item 15, new business. This is not village business, but we all want to know, how is Becky doing?
Yes.
Tomorrow is the delivery day.
Well, we sure love her, and send the news as soon as you know something.
Word, spread the word.
How exciting.
Grandpa.
How exciting. You know, I run into these young families at airports all the time. And not being a shy guy, I always say baby number 1, because you can tell they've got the stroller, and they actually sterilize the pacifiers. And I ask a serious question first. I said, did you ever think you could love somebody so much in your life? And without exception, it blows new parents away. They said, no, I never knew I could love somebody. And I said, so let me give you the drill. You're going to drop this little bundle of joy off at kindergarten, and you're going to cry the entire way home. And then you're going to drop them off at the dorm as freshmen in college, and you are going to cry the entire way home. And then they move in after grad school without a job, and boy, are you going to cry all over again. And that seems to get a hit. I said, remember, you heard it here first. Agenda item 16, second opportunity for the public to address the board. There is no one here seeking resolution. We have no need for a closed session. There is no other business. Our favorite objective or agenda item, Chair would like a motion to adjourn. By Trustee Perkins, second. By Trustee Burke. All those in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned.